Congratulations and welcome to the second interview, which means you found out that your customer has interest and money by utilizing the From Your Perspective system. Now, what I'd like to do is be able to show you a typical scenario in a second interview. So Michaela, thank you for having me back. I greatly appreciate your time. What I'd like to do with you, Michaela, is basically just kind of review and go over the From Your Perspective and make sure nothing has changed since our last meeting. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Great. I just want to make sure, you mentioned last time we were here your top 3 priorities were ways to fund supplemental income for retirement, ways to accumulate more money, and ways to provide for your family in the event of death were your top 3 priorities. Has anything changed since that last meeting?
No.
Okay, great. Well, what I'd like to do today, Michaela, is really just kind of walk through some different recommendations and ideas. And like I said before, if they make sense, that's great. And if they don't, that's okay too. But really what we talk about when it comes to retirement is really trying to create a roadmap to success. And what we want to focus on is really trying to get a successful retirement that doesn't come to you, you're going to have to go to it. And that's really a critical statement there, because most people sit around and wait for retirement to happen, and by the time it gets here, it's a little bit too late. So we have to do some proper planning, and we got to really go to it. But the problem with that is a lot of times people always ask, well, Jody, which way do I go? And really the road to retirement is filled with many roadblocks that could detour your journey to a successful retirement. Matter of fact, there are 3 roadblocks that will affect your retirement income. The first one is planning. As you know, if we don't plan for the future, there won't be one. The second one is taxes. Obviously, taxes are really a variable when we look at the future. We don't know which way they're going. The other one would be inflation, and that's what I kind of call the hidden tax, because we don't know what inflation is going to do in the future and how it's going to affect us. So what we'll do is we'll kind of talk about these 3 different roadblocks as we go through this process. The one thing that we do know is that if you don't plan, you will not get the retirement you deserve. You only get the one you can afford. It really depends on how well you plan today. Matter of fact, if you look at it today, if you were 35 years old and you got paid twice a month, you only have 720 paydays left till you turn age 65, which is retirement time. If you're age 45, you only have 480 days left till it's retirement time. And at age 55, you only have 240 paydays left. So as you can see, that time cycle is getting shorter and shorter every day that you wait or delay. So we want to make sure that we plan properly. This article actually from AARP that came out February 3rd of 2011 goes on to talk about planning. It says many baby boomers report no savings at all. And it goes on to say that with fewer pensions and more debt, they face retirement challenges that their parents didn't. The lingering pain from most severe recessions since World War II is partly to blame. Many boomers are on the verge of ending their work lives without fully recovering from fortunes lost in the housing and stock markets. This translates to less money to fund their retirement years, which could stretch for 3 decades, giving that boomers can expect well into their 90s. So what we do know is that people are living a lot longer, which means you're going to have to plan to have more money. A recent poll was released Wednesday that found that a whopping 25% of people aged 46 to 64 say they have no retirement savings, and 26% have no personal savings. It goes on to say that the situation is almost as grim for adults 65 and older. 22% have no retirement savings and 14% have no personal savings, according to polls just recently released by the Harris Interactive. So as you can see, what we've got to not only do is focus on the planning aspect, but really kind of focus on how long will our money last. And that's really important. So how long will your savings last? Or do you think it's going to last 20 years, 25 years, 30 years? As they just mentioned, people are definitely going to be living a lot longer in the future. Matter of fact, as you can see, the average life expectancy has climbed from the early 1950s till today. It's jumped dramatically. So what we do know, as I mentioned earlier, people are living longer. Are they living healthier? We don't know, but we do know medical technology is getting better, which means people are definitely living longer. So one of the things that we look at is that while people are living longer than any other time in our history, 1/3 of your life will be spent in retirement, which means your retirement income has to last longer. It has to be there for you. And it goes on to say, this is actually an article from the Social Security. You can go on their website and print it out. It's the Social Security fact sheet. It goes on to say that 9 out of 10 individuals age 65 and older receive Social Security benefits. Social Security benefits represent about 40% of the income of the elderly. 40%, as it sits here today. Among elderly Social Security beneficiaries, 52% of married couples and 72% of unmarried people receive 50% or more of their income from Social Security. So if you look at your own income today, half of that would basically be replaced by Social Security. That's a big, big deal when you're looking at it, that the money's just not there to cover for long term, especially when half of their income is from Social Security, which is not going to pay out a huge amount. So you can tell those people really, when you're looking at planning for the future, planning is really critical, because most people didn't plan to fail, they just failed to plan. And as you can see, this guy right here, he's a greeter at one of our local stores here, and he says, "Welcome to our store." But really, he's not there because working at Walmart is exciting or luxurious, okay, and he likes to meet people. He's there because he has the retirement that he can afford, not the one he deserves, okay? Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And when you look at, there's only really 4 ways to get rich. The first one is the fast way. You go out and buy a lottery ticket. The other way is the wrong way. The other way is the easy way. Get an inheritance. Now, I don't know about you, but I can tell you that personally, I don't have a rich uncle to leave me a lot of money. And so that's another way. But really, the only guaranteed way is to spend less than you earn and start saving now, because we have plenty of time to get money set aside for that. So that's one of the roadblocks is planning, and as you can see, it's very critical to your process. The next stage is really taxes. And with taxes, what we've got to look at is your personal income tax history. Now you can see from 1913 to 2010, the tax rate has been all over the place. It's been up, it's been down, it's back up again. We're talking about raising taxes again right now. And as you can see in your current tax bracket, that you're in a 25% tax bracket as we sit here today. And that could go up even further. And this is not me talking about it. As you can see, this is an actual article from the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office. And what most people don't realize is not only that taxes probably will go up in the future, I can't guarantee it, but according to the CBO's own numbers, it shows that the revenue from taxes is 18.2. That's what they're pulling in for their budget right now. The spending is well over 26%. That's a huge gap from what we take in to what we spend. Now, all the talk in the media is talking about one thing: reducing the deficit, and the only way that they can reduce the deficit is one of 2 things: really cut expenses or raise taxes. Most likely it's probably going to be both, because that's the only way that we can cut this gap down, okay? And again, this is not me saying this. This is from the Congressional Budget Office. These are their own reports that you can pull directly from their websites. Matter of fact, when we talk about cutting expenses, people might say, well, I understand that, Jody. The government's going to cut expenses, and probably a big part of our expenses is the war. Well, quite frankly, the war is a very small part of our overall expenses. The bigger expenses that the government pays every year is Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. It is a huge amount, and as you can see, it'll grow all the way up to from 7.4 all the way past 2050. And right now, what's happening with the baby boomers? We have the largest retiring population in American history are retiring. Do you think these expenses are going to go up or go down in the future? Most likely go up. And to pay for these deals at 2050, the government would have to raise your personal income tax $12,000 per household just to pay the Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security benefits that they're paying today. Okay? So that's